Anytime disaster strikes, the American Red Cross is there to help. From devastating natural disasters to house fires and blood donations, the organization works to provide support and relief for those in crisis. Andrea Carlson with the American Red Cross of Colorado and Wyoming is joining me here on CBSN Denver. Thank you so much for being with us today. Now, we know we're in the middle of wildfire and hurricane season, so tell us what decision-making goes into sending staff and volunteers to an area that's being impacted.
Sure. So it's really kind of an interesting process. When we start hearing and seeing the potential for disasters like hurricanes or wildfires, we see the conditions, everything starting to show that we've got an issue coming our way. We look at a lot of different things, really what is the need and really what the impact could be. One of the really cool things about Colorado, specifically Denver, is that we are becoming a very well-known region within the Red Cross of having incredible talent who can go out to disasters and really know exactly what to do, run well-oiled machines while they're out supporting people. And so we've really started becoming an area that is requested for help and services right away. So we currently have 63 people deployed at this moment right now all over the country helping out with disasters. But since August, we've had over 170 folks. And so it really is an incredible number to think about. But we look at really a bunch of different things, where our talents are, what our volunteers have been trained in. For us with COVID, it's been awesome because we've got some incredible COVID strike teams that are teaching other regions how to work within disasters during this COVID timeframe. So our people are highly requested and being sent out all over the place.
That's great to hear. And I know a lot of people are wondering if you could walk us through what the Red Cross does once you do arrive at a disaster area. What's that like?
Yeah, so our big thing is prepare, respond, and recover. So we actually oftentimes go out a day or two before the disaster even hits. If you look at some of the processes with the hurricanes, those are a little bit easier to plan for than a wildfire. But we'll have boots on the ground within 24 to 48 hours that are really there to start setting up shelters and providing places and equipment and services for people who are going to be impacted. As soon as the news and really emergency managers start letting people know you're potentially in an evacuated area is really when the Red Cross work starts. And so when we arrive on scene, like I said, it's setting up shelters, it's getting supplies, water, knowing the potential for electricity to go out. So are there generators needed? Making sure we have places that are completely safe for people to go to. Then we'll ride out the storm and kind of see and assess really what's needed within the community and how we can help support. Oftentimes in a hurricane situation, individuals who are evacuated will come to our shelters and ride out the storms with us. And so we have an incredible team of shelter workers who have done everything from throwing birthday parties, engagement parties, we've had weddings, all sorts of things have happened inside of our shelters that you would never expect inside of a Red Cross shelter, but they truly do make them as difficult as it is to be in a shelter. There's also stuff that's being done to make them a magical, happy place that's a little bit more enjoyable for the folks that are staying there. And then of course, after a disaster hits, we have teams that are providing casework. And so when we work with individual clients or families, we provide everything from medical services, mental health services, emergency supplies, support, lodging, food, clothes, any of those immediate needs. But it doesn't just end there. We also have teams of people that go out in the field that do disaster assessment, and they go and look to see what has the disaster caused damage to, how bad that is, and then we can sit and work with partners like FEMA and other organizations on really identifying what those community needs are. And it still doesn't end there. They continue, the individuals, to get support for up to years after. If you look at some of the Hurricane Harvey individuals that were impacted, some of them are still receiving casework and help from the Red Cross in some form or fashion at this point in time. So there's just so much we do, and we don't go away until really the work is done. We also work within the communities to help provide long-term assistance and planning. And so that can be for individuals whose homes have been completely demolished and they need some support and help getting back on their feet. We'll work within a community to see what type of support is out there so that we can get those people transitioned into that new normal and really what their life's going to look like after that.
Because of the pandemic, the Red Cross is going virtual. So what online services are you offering as well?
So we've been really able to not change our mission drastically because of COVID, but instead add and enhance what we're doing. And so one of the things that they've really worked hard on providing is a virtual family assistance center. And this is really cool because in the height of COVID, in a lot of our communities, families just weren't getting what they needed. And so we had mental health providers, we had medical health providers, we had all sorts of people, housing resources, your typical how to pay your bills and different connections, all sorts of things that individual communities could put into this virtual family assistance center to help communities with what they were going through. It also had some really great support for individuals who lost family members because of COVID and other issues that had happened during that time frame when families weren't able to finish stories and to really plan some endings the way that they wanted to. We were able to provide some virtual comfort and care so that people weren't alone. We also had ways for individuals that were just at home with nobody to talk to call and talk to some volunteers to receive some support and to just have another voice on the end of the line that they could talk to, because we know that impacted people so much during this difficult time.
Yeah, that's really great that you guys are able to meet families kind of where they're at and where their need is, virtually or in person.
It is. It's been really cool. The other part too is, we've been able to continue our services. So for example, in the Denver metro area and really all over the state of Colorado, not just in Denver, but even families that were impacted by home fires, right? Because that didn't stop during COVID. We were able to still connect with them virtually and to still get them support with hotels, food, again, those emergency needs that you would need. They were able to do all of that online or over the phone when they weren't able to go and actually reach out and work with people in person.
That's amazing. And aside from those disasters, we know that the pandemic is also having a major impact on our blood supply. So what is your advice for the best way for someone to donate blood, and why is this so important?
Yeah, so one of the most important things that has continued to be to play a role during this pandemic is the need for blood donations. Here locally within Colorado, the Red Cross doesn't actually collect blood. Our partners come down from other areas to help do blood drives, and we oftentimes partner with some of our local organizations here in town, like Children's Hospital, for things like that. But the need for blood was huge. They were having to cancel fund for blood drives and different things like that all over the place because of COVID, and people were unable to come out. One of the really cool things though is, again, like everything else, we were able to adapt and change and still continue on with our mission. And so they created some extra protocols and safety settings in order to allow people to still donate in a safe environment without the risk of getting something or putting the risk for our employees and our workers and volunteers that were at those blood drives as well. So the need still continues. 1 pint of blood can save up to 3 lives. And so it really, if it's not for the Red Cross here in Denver, please, it's still important to go somewhere else and donate blood. It is one of the best gifts you can give somebody, is the gift of life, and that can be done through blood.
Andrea, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for all the hard work you guys are doing. You can find the latest information on the wildfires in Colorado right here on CBSN Denver.